One, two. Erin!
Emmy,
Oh, so good to
hello.
see you.
You too, my
Welcome.
friend.
Welcome to the Video and Vinyl Club, where sometimes we put an episode out every day of the week, and sometimes we put an episode out every 2 weeks because lives, and we
You
are
know,
all about the wellness, life, work,
e- ex
balance, baby.
exactly. And I think to our own credit, look, a lot of podcasts do seasons, so they give themselves a natural break. But we're animals who don't know breaks, so we just have to give our breaks when we feel like we need to have a break, and we have just a lot of life things happening because we're real human beings. We're not AI, guys. AI
That's
doesn't
it.
take any breaks.
That's
It doesn't need
exactly
to.
right. And
Hmm.
as Erin loves to remind me, we are our own bosses and we make the rules and we don't drive ourselves into the ground if our plate is overfilled. We take a
Yep.
break, we
It's a new
fuel.
paradigm. It's a new
So,
paradigm. It's a
yeah,
new way of being. It's the function of burnout doesn't work anymore. That's
no,
not the language we want to speak around here. We're speaking a language of, hey, I need a break. High five, great, take it. No reason to
exactly.
push. That's not how we make our best work. We're artists who have both been through that unfortunate cycle of like the push, and that never leads you to a good place creatively. So,
Yes, and let's be real, Erin's a mother and I'm a woman. And
you're a mother
we,
too, in a way. We're all
yeah,
creators. Every woman's a
yes.
mother.
And yeah, I know, but you like had a person inside of you, and I had a lot of surgery. And the truth is, we are like the wildest multitasker. The fact that we even invented this podcast and get it out on the air is pretty badass. So we're just
Doing
like,
that thing called life, y'all. Doing that thing
yeah,
called life.
P.S. Expect us to like have 2 weeks where we put an episode out every day because this is just how we work. We maximize our time. We take advantage of the spaces. But anyways, welcome to the Video and Vinyl Club. I am your host, Emmy Wildwood. I'm a music producer, an artist, a songwriter, a art director, a manager of businesses.
You
A
are.
I am, but I'm also, like Erin's biggest fan. Let me introduce her. She is a incredible actor, incredible director, visionary writer, just
Hmm.
like business queen. I have respected the crap out of Erin since the day I met her. She scared me a little at first, I'm not gonna lie. And then I realized it was just her badass business friend. Anyways, this is my gorgeous co-host, Erin Mars.
Hey, thank you, Emmy. Thank you. My name's Erin Mars. I am a writer, director, producer of all different kinds of things, and I am also a spiritual teacher. I hold all different kinds of spaces like that. Emmy, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. That was really, really sweet. And yeah, I am an actor. I forget to mention that sometimes, but we have a really exciting episode today. And it's about something we both dearly love. And I think we both have a history in. We talked about this at one point before, like our own backgrounds in this subject, which is
What, we're
vinyl
musicians? Oh yeah.
records.
Today we're
What's up, y'all? That's why it's called the freaking Video and Vinyl Club. Okay.
Yes, and we've dedicated a lot of time to video, and since we've been doing that, we realized there's a little bit of an asymmetrical with the video versus the vinyl, but
Mhm.
we are correcting that. We've been talking about music a lot more. The truth is Aaron and I have been working on movies together a lot lately, and so that just seems to come up. We're trying to build a language together. We're trying to do some projects. And so the videos have been the thing, but we're always listening to music. We've always got our eye on music. I'm always making music. And the long and short of it is, we thought it was super important for our listeners to understand vinyl. Because, like, there's
Yes.
some Gen Z people listening out there. There's some, people who love vinyl but don't really know the history of it and why it's so important and special and why it's making such a huge comeback.
That's right. And that's why this is the show where analog nostalgia meets modern obsession.
That's right. And today we're deep diving into the wild and winding history of vinyl records.
So, from tinfoil cylinders to Target exclusive Taylor Swift pressings, we're spinning through time. Pun very much intended.
Spinning through time. We'll break down the evolution of vinyl. We'll talk about world wars and how they weirdly helped shape music history and settle that eternal debate. What even is the difference between an EP, LP, and full-length album?
Yes. So, we're going to start with the birth of recorded sound.
Yeah, let's jump in. Let's spin it back to 1877. Thomas Edison is in his little house. Just kidding. Thomas Edison invented the phonograph, which etched sound onto a tin foil covered cylinder. It was super fragile. It's totally groundbreaking.
And from there came Emil Berliner in the 1890s. And he moved us actually into flat discs with his invention, the gramophone. Maybe you've heard of it. Probably you have. And the gramophone, these discs were made of shellac and spun at 78 RPM, which is rotations per minute. So we're not at vinyl yet, but we're stepping closer.
Mhm. Shellac records were brittle and held about 3 minutes of music per side. So, still a massive leap in how people experience sound.
Then we move on to war technology and the rise of vinyl. So here's where history and music really start to dance, okay? World War One played a weirdly helpful role in popularizing records. The war, as many people who have experienced war, even in modern day, we see war takes families and pulls people apart in numerous different ways. The war spurred technological invention, it innovation, kind of the same.
Yeah.
Innovation and invention, but especially in the world of electronics, and it created a demand for more compact, reliable forms of entertainment. You have a bunch of people who are away from their families, sometimes sitting in places, nothing's really happening. They're just waiting for something to happen. And what are they going to do? Either pick fights with each other, or you give them some form of entertainment, which is going to make it better for everybody, right?
Yeah, and like soldiers wanted music, families wanted ways to hear their loved ones or escape the stress of war. And there's so many ways that a record can make you feel like you're close to somebody, from memories to enjoying a song you like together. And by the 1920s, radio and phonographs became, yes. Oh, look, we have
Hold.
our Gen Alpha intern is here.
The intern's here. Yes.
Yeah.
Mom, I need another episode of Alex.
I'll be right back.
So by the 1920s, radio and phonographs became standard home items, like a can opener is to you now.
But it was World War II that really changed the vinyl game. So shellac, which was used in traditional records, became really hard to get. It was being diverted to the war effort. So companies turned to polyvinyl chloride, known as PVC, as an alternative. It was more durable, less noisy, and opened the door to high fidelity audio.
Mhm. Also, post World War II, with American troops stationed across in Europe and Asia, American music spread globally like never before. So jazz, blues, and early rock made their way into places they'd never been. And vinyl records were the delivery method. There's no cheaper, tour cost than a record in a box being sent across the country or out
Yes,
of the
and
country,
I
overseas.
I was recently actually reading a book about the Beatles, and one of the things that they all were when they were kids was talking about early blues and early American rock that they were getting over there, which was
Muddy Waters.
coincided right after, that time period.
Hmm.
Anyway, so after the war, people had more disposable income and they had more time. So record players were made more affordable and records themselves became cultural artifacts, ways to express identity, fandom, and rebellion.
Yeah, in the 1940s, like think swingers, think all of that stuff. People
fun
were,
dance. Yeah.
yeah, dancing went along with that. It's also so very sinful and inappropriate for young people. So by the 1940s, RCA, you might recognize that, Victor introduced vinyl LPs. Columbia released the 33 and a third RPM long playing records in 1948, and then RCA responded again with the 45 in 1949. That format wars, anyone?
Mm-hmm. So
Mhm.
let's get into LPs, EPs, and full lengths.
Mhm. All right, let's pause for a second and clear up some lingo for our listeners because not all records are created equal. They're different. They all have their own personalities.
Very true. Very true. So let's start with LP. So LP, that stands for long play. So a long play record, these are 12 inches. They have the 33 and a third RPM. Again, that's rotations per minute. They're the records that became standard for like full length albums starting in 1948. An LP usually holds about 20 to 25 minutes per side. So you get 40 to like 50 minutes total of music. And that's your average full album.
Which is was so popular in the 70s and 80s. 4 songs per side, that kind of thing.
Super
Then,
standard.
yeah,
Yeah.
then you've got EPs, which stand for extended play. Confusing, I know. An EP is actually shorter than an LP, even though it's called an extended play. I don't know. Typically, EPs are 7 to 10 inches, play at 45 RPM, and hold around 3 to 5 tracks. They're often used by new artists to showcase a few songs before dropping a full album. So, like, when I was in the punk rock scene, my youth, you would split a 45 with someone. So we'd be like, do you want to do a split 7 inch record? Which would be like because you were poor, you'd you and another band would split the cost of a 45 because they were cheaper, because they were smaller, less materials used, and you'd get one side and the other band would get another side. And then you combined efforts by you know, two people
Putting it
focusing
out.
on, yeah, two people focusing on
Totally.
pushing an album. And it's actually really smart. And honestly, that's what we should do. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
more people should be doing that. And also those things become relics and collectibles and people like
Mm-hmm.
it would be about like, you know what I found at the record store, Erin? I always talk about our local record rack. It'd be like, I found this 50 copy run of a 7 inch split with these two bands that I loved. Anyways, sort
Totally.
of and in the inspiration for my record label, Tiger Blanket Records, that Erin
Right
was
here,
on.
which I have
There it is.
Tiger
Oh,
blank
bless. Yeah, hold
Tiger
it. Perfect.
blanket
Oh,
records. Yep.
Erin Mary and the West Island. Now that's not a split, but that is a 45 and a 7 inch. So,
Yep. So this is a 45. And when people are also talking about, and this is just so you can see, I mean, I can
oh,
hold it in one hand, right? It's pretty little. When you're putting this, when you put a 45 on your record player, there's like a switch on your record player. My record player happens to be directly behind me because this is where I work and write, and I play records all the time. So you have basically a switch in here. When you put your smaller record on, you flip it. So you flip your speed. So you have to actually, here it says 12-inch size or 7-inch size. And once you flip that, it actually is changing the rotations per minute that it's spinning. So you're getting the music
mhm.
at the right speed, which
Yeah,
affects tone, which affects key.
and speed is how many time it's spinning per, how many
Yep,
rotations per
rotations
minute.
per minute. You know, when you really think about records and the ability people suddenly had to play music that prior to this, you know, you would have like maybe a player piano, which had a cylinder in it, and the cylinder would move and then it would like play the different songs, right? To have a record player that was affordable and you could put in your house, that was amazing for people. Prior to that,
Mhm.
you're listening to the radio and you're listening to what people are choosing to play. So if it's on the radio, that's the song you're listening to. If you have a record player, you can choose what you want to listen to. You can choose the artist you want to start listening to, or the type of music you want to listen to. Or I'm feeling sad, I'm going to put something sad on. I'm feeling happy, I have friends over, I want to throw a party, I'm going to put this song on. You didn't any longer have to go to a place to hear music. You can have it at home. It's
Now you
very
can,
revolutionary when you think about it. It really, really is. It changed
it's
the ball game.
it's revolutionary, and you can see why it became controversial and dangerous because people suddenly had control over how they wanted to feel at any given time. Music is so emotional and so it changes the body chemistry, and suddenly people could navigate their feelings, control, shift their feelings, and who hates that is the government. So so all of a
We're going into
sudden,
another part of this podcast.
no, it's so real. So suddenly people being able to put records on, make themselves feel better, feel, explore their feelings. It's part of the reason the government regulates the radio.
Yeah. And if people don't know that, now you do. So now that everybody understands, right? You have when people say full-length album, they usually are talking about an LP, which technically some full lengths now run even longer with digital and deluxe editions. Let's get into the golden age of records. Once Columbia dropped the LP format in 1948 and RCA fired back with the 45, we entered what's now called the golden age of vinyl, which is basically the 50s through the 70s. Vinyl hit its stride. Rock and roll, soul, folk, jazz, all immortalized in those grooves. Even classical music benefited. Recordings of full orchestras could now be enjoyed in small town living rooms. That's a massive cultural shift.
This is when the album became an art form. Think concept albums like the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper Lonely Heart Club Band in 1967. You weren't just buying a song, you were buying an experience. And remember, you could open up an LP, there'd be a poster slipped inside, there'd
Oh,
be
totally.
secrets at what we now commonly know as Easter eggs. There would be Easter eggs all over an album, reasons to keep looking at it, reasons to keep listening, reasons to keep holding on to the thing.
I actually have a poster framed that hangs in this room of John Lennon at a piano that came from a record, which is a great segue because this is the moment when album art really flourished. You think Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones with a real zipper on the cover, or Dark Side of the Moon with its prism design. Records weren't just music, they were artifacts. And because of international distribution, vinyl helped artists become global icons. Elvis wasn't just famous in America, he was pressed and played everywhere. And one small thing I want to say about Elvis, I have this book about rock and roll, and it's all these photos and stories from like journalists from the 1950s to the 1960s. And there's this amazing picture of Elvis Presley in his hotel room. He had bought a really cheap record player and he had just gotten one of his own records. And he was in the hotel room listening on this cheap record player with his own record, just sitting there, like really listening to it. And the guy says to him, Elvis, why are you listening like that? Like you have this huge stereo system. You could go listen to it at your house or whatever. And he was like, I want to listen to it how my fans listen to it. I want to hear how it sounds to my fans.
I do that all the time. Do you ever
It's so
listen
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll like send Erin a demo and then I'll listen right after just so that I can like think of what it's going to feel like for her to listen to it.
Yeah. And you listen to it in the car, you listen to it in
Mhm.
headphones, you listen to it with the speakers, you listen to it a million different ways. So you can really get that full experience.
So records weren't just music, they were things that help people's identities shape. You know,
Records traveled farther than radio ever could.
little airplanes for
Mhm.
music. So let's talk about most vinyl sold and iconic art. So who sold the most vinyl records in history? That would be the Beatles. Okay, I'm sure nobody is
No
surprised.
surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, over 600 million worldwide.
It's crazy. The most iconic album art Well, that's very much up for debate. But The Dark Side of the Moon, which I have right here, okay, and
Mhm, mhm,
if you're watching us on YouTube, it's basically a black cover with like a pyramid and a rainbow going through that's like deflecting
mhm.
into a single line. Um,
Psychedelic.
yeah, it's consistently ranked the number one for album art. It was designed by Hypnosis, a graphic design team known for surrealist covers. And when I say Hypnosis, they're spelled Hipgnosis. So I possibly am mispronouncing that. I've only read it
Hypnosis.
before. Hypnosis. Also, one thing about Dark Side of the Moon that I love to mention, and I feel like maybe everybody has done this, where you play The Wizard of Oz, you put it on mute, and then you put on the Dark Side of the Moon record. It's actually pretty fun, guys.
Oh,
So
I didn't
try
know
that out at
that.
home. Oh,
We would,
what?
yeah, we would have
Oh,
Dark Side of the Moon at the planetarium. And you would watch,
ooh.
yeah, you could listen to the whole Dark Side of the Moon while you like watched all these planets and they'd like soundtracked this like planetary footage. I think they still do that regularly. If they don't, we should do it.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm like, let's go host a Dark Side of the Moon Pink Floyd planetarium night.
Yeah.
Find out about that, Aaron.
Okay.
Anyways, fast forward. And
Add it
of
to my
course,
homework list.
right, yes. And of course, we can't talk about album covers without talking about how Andy Warhol made waves with the Velvet Underground and Nico's Banana cover. I mean, people are still copying that and wearing shirts with that everywhere you go. That album art was real art.
Hmm.
Still
Now,
is.
definitely still is. Now, let's talk about pricing, okay? Because obviously money matters in the game. So back in the 50s, an LP cost around $3, which today would be about $30 with inflation.
Mhm.
So they were a splurge, but they were worth it because you could again play that record again and again and again, but it was a splurge. Still was, $30 today is, if I go into a record store, I'm really buying one record if it's going to be $30.
Yeah, I mean, and
Yeah.
compare something that doesn't like a MP3 can disappear at any time. So holding on to something that's a thing of value. So like fast forward to now, and most new LPs are costing 25 to $50. Deluxe editions, they're easily $60 or more.
Yeah. And then there's the collector's market where some pressings go for hundreds, even thousands.
Mhm. And like, okay, so let's talk about how a vinyl record is made because I am pretty familiar with this process since I had this little label, and because even before that, my band, The Stone Lonesome, put records out on vinyl and a few other ones. So let's talk about the process. So step one, obviously, the artist records in analog or in digital.
And then step two is mastering, where tracks are prepped and leveled, which then leads to step three, which is the lacquer cutting. A lathe carves the grooves into a lacquer disc.
Mhm. So think of that as like your mold if you were
Hmm.
like making a bracelet or something like that. So then you electroplate. So electroplating, a metal stamper is created from the lacquer. So now the metal's poured into this like mold,
Hmm.
and then you have your, you know, stamp essentially. And then you press. So vinyl pucks get heated. So these are these like little pieces of plastic that look like a puck. And then the stamper, which is what was made inside the mold with metal, gets pushes it down like a, I don't know, like a
Like your cookie
cookie.
cutting.
Yeah, like cookie cutting, literally. Wow, that was like the most femme way to describe vinyl. I'm like so here for it. Anyways, so these pucks get heated up so they're like, malleable, and then the stamp presses into it and makes these flat discs with grooves cut into them.
There's a couple more steps. We're trimming and quality check. So they're going to trim where the area, so just like if you make a cookie, there's like that edging. So they trim off the
Hmm.
edging, make sure that's all
Hmm.
super clean. And they're checking each record to make sure the grooves are there accurately and like have been put in the right place.
Hmm.
And that's the quality check. And then there's the packaging where the record goes into the record sleeve with that beautiful, magical album art.
Yeah, and quality check is super important, just FYI, because I've received whole batches of records where it sounds bad. And you have to send that all the way back. They have to figure out what's wrong and they repress them again. So masters super important, and sending your record to someone you trust really makes a difference, unless you're
Hmm.
just doing throwaway singles. Anyways, so everyone really romanticized these records clearly. So why did it fall? Like what happened with that, with the formats and so forth? So by the late 70s and the early 80s, vinyl had some competition, right?
Hmm.
The cassette tape came. It was portable, recordable, and cheaper. And boy, do we love cheaper when Americans are struggling for money. We like cheaper. So, but portability was cool too. Then came the CD in the 80s with digital clarity and promises of perfect sound forever. Yeah, but nobody talks about how easily they could scratch either and
Yeah.
break and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. And now suddenly vinyl seemed outdated and sales declined super fast.
Mhm.
Record stores disappeared. Pressing plants shut down. And by 1991, vinyl sales were down to just a fraction of what they had been. Vinyl became niche for DJs, collectors, and stubborn romantics. I think also with the cassette tape, it's cars. People were able
Mhm.
to, you can't play, a record in the car,
That's
but
true.
when cars were, in manufacturing and suddenly they're like, oh, cassette tape's great. Let's put a cassette tape player in the car. People were like, great. And they'd go into the record store. They want to listen to the record right away. They get the cassette tape, they get into their car, they pop that cassette into the stereo, car stereo, boom, now they're listening to it right away. They didn't even have to drive home. I feel like that
P.S.
was a huge part of it, right?
It was, and P.S. That's the portability part, but another huge part of portability is what else blew up in the 80s was fitness, aerobics. Before then, it was like
Oh yeah.
calisthenics, playing a sport. That's how you exercised, but aerobics became this musical driven situation where
Huge. Yeah.
huge and dance classes were being led and all of these things, and women would do aerobics in their living room and jazzercise in their living room, and the Walkman was like wow, revolutionary for that. I mean, you can see people like if you watch any old movies, you see these people with Walkmans like power walking. It's hilarious. So
Oh, totally.
that was a
Also,
huge part of it.
mixtapes. To be able to make your own
Oh
mixes.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was actually like looking through some
Recordable.
box,
That's the
totally.
recordability.
And I
Mm-hmm.
found like a mixtape some friends had made and like it's fun. Like you were able to
Mm-hmm.
take control of what you want to have in the order you want to have it. You can't do that with records.
Yeah, I just
Um,
realized the relationship between music and control. It's like music makes people feel in control of lots of things. Their
totally.
happiness level, their ability to zone out, their ability to
Yep,
get pumped up for exercise, their ability to create mood for parties, all these things. Yeah. So wow,
totally.
I never really thought about it that way, honestly.
Right. So cassettes became popular, but the cassette art was very different.
Too small.
It was not, yeah, it was really small. And you could kind of like pull it out. And usually it was just like the lyrics. So you could like
Uh-huh.
pull out the lyrics, sheet and kind of like
Mhm.
learn the lyrics to a song super fast if you wanted,
Yeah.
which I was, as a kid, was super into that. And record albums have that too. But like record albums, and I have Dark Side of the Moon in front of me now, you have stuff printed on the inside. There would be posters, there'd be more art. The album itself could be printed in a cool way with like pictures on it
Oh
or
yeah.
be colored or
Hmm.
all kinds of really awesome stuff, which really still appeals to collectors. But so a minute there was a downfall. Let's talk about the comeback.
But really quickly, let's just talk about also, which I think is really important, the difference in sound, which is that while a CD might be clearer, right? And while a tape might be more compatible, there's no warmth like record. It's warmth is a thing that you strive to put into music. One wants to listen to a wiry, needly, annoying, gritty kind of sound. I mean,
Mhm.
on some level, some things can be gritty, but not anything that's nails on chalkboard. So that's a huge difference. But vinyl did refuse to die, though, right? Like, even when capes were out, my dad kept the record player. It's like people couldn't let go. It's like some things last forever. And the truth is that with what the state of the world, what's popular in pop culture and what's happening in the world around you, things, particularly devices, get bigger or smaller based on what's going on. Like think of phones, think of all the iterations, like how they've gotten really tiny and then really huge and then really tiny and then really huge. Like we go through trends based on what's happening and convenience and what we need for the time. So that's one of the reasons that vinyl refused to die. So starting in the early 2000s, indie labels and audiophiles started pressing records again. Turntables came back, and so did crate digging.
And then it completely exploded. So by 2020, vinyl sales actually surpassed CD sales for the first time since 1987. Major artists are releasing,
2020.
yeah,
Yeah.
major artists are releasing new work on vinyl again, some even before digital.
Plus record store day, special pressings, colored vinyl, picture discs, box sets. It's a full-on renaissance. And part of it is because digital music is intangible. Everything's, artists don't have a way to make money. Physical items last, forever if you take care of them well. And uh, it's real. People are
Totally.
craving things that are real.
Yeah, people want, yes, something they can put their hands on. In a world that feels so fake, give me something real.
That's exactly right. So here's your spin of weird and wonderful vinyl trivia. World's biggest vinyl collection, over 6 million records. Who does that belong to? The longest vinyl album, probably the Mars Volta's La Realidad de los Sueños, which come on 18 LPs.
This is freaking
That
crazy.
I had no idea. Although I will tell you, the Mars Volta is bomb.
Yes, they definitely are. Okay, another fun fact, vinyl grooves are microscopic hills and valleys, and a single
Mm.
groove runs from the edge to the center in a continuous spiral. Some records have hidden tracks in the runout groove. So that's like the flat area near the label. So if you keep letting that needle sit down, even after that last song's played, and it goes, then another song, secret song,
Oh
not on the
yeah.
record, like art will start to
Oh,
play. Super
I
cool.
love that.
Yeah, super fun.
Another thing digital music takes away.
Yeah,
Although
yeah.
I guess you could put it on a track, but that's fine.
There are also locked grooves, so where the needle gets stuck in a repeating loop unless you manually lift it. So if you had a record, and here's an example of this, right? And you're like, I want to have a party, but I don't have a fireplace and I have a fake one and I want to pretend that we're listening to a fire. You can put
Mhm.
on a record of fire burning, like the crackling sound.
Mhm.
That will just keep spinning if you've got a
Mhm.
locked groove record.
Wow, interesting. I didn't even know that existed and I had a label. And fun fact, colored vinyl, this is something that I learned young and this is why I never pressed any like colorful albums, but while they're beautiful and they're like fun, they can sometimes have slightly lower fidelity than standard black because black carbon additives actually strengthen the material and the colorful PVC that they put it on is actually a little bit weaker because of it. So the black ones actually sound better. So,
So stick with what works.
mhm.
Stick with what works.
Yes.
So let's talk about our favorites and let's actually give our listeners a listener challenge.
Okay.
We haven't done that before. Listener challenge. All right. So, what are some of your favorite records?
Okay. I saw one of yours up here, but I don't know if you're going to say it or not, but Blue was one of my top records. It was my mom's favorite album on vinyl, and she named her guitar Blue.
Oh,
And I know every song on that record inside and out. Cyndi Lauper's
that
record.
Blue is by Joni Mitchell, but
Yeah,
for
Blue.
people
Sorry,
who
I didn't
don't
say
know.
that.
No, that's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Blue by Joni Mitchell, incredible album.
You're actually not wrong about Abbey Road. I do love that album, Abbey Road album. I have some really weird ones. Juice Newton, I really loved. Crystal Gale's album cover. I have all these memories of. So many. Oh, the Chipmunks Christmas
Oh, classic.
album. Yeah, so many. I mean,
Christmas
last
time
time
is
is
here.
here, time for joy. Yeah, I loved it. And I actually got that on cassette when it came out. So, I mean, so many. John Denver, Joan Baez on vinyl. These are like childhood memories, like literally every Beatles album, the White Album. Oh, very big for me. These are all childhood things. I think later on, I was listening to my records and other bands that I was pressing's records a lot on vinyl, like Erin, Mary and the West Island. That's Erin's band, by the
That's
way,
my
that I
band.
pressed. Yeah, I put
Mhm.
out Mother Feathers album. I put out my band Velta on that album. There was a lot of listening to that stuff. And as of late, I look a lot of Linda Ronstadt. I know we've talked about that before, but she's like a Tucson hometown hero, and I get compared a lot vocally to her, like by randos, because I think I just listen to her so much. But
So cute.
what
Linda
about you?
Ronstadt's a gem. Well, I pulled out a few just because I have my record collection behind me of records that I love, just even from like an album art standpoint. This is Nick Drake, Pink Moon.
Ooh, very
So
cool.
the record art, if people can't, I mean, obviously this is a podcast, so not everyone's gonna listen to this on YouTube, but it's wild. It's kind of like a planet on top of a planet with random objects and a sad clown face on one side. And I don't know, it's just freaking
It's like abstract art.
very cool. It kind of reminds me of like a Picasso kind of situation. This is one of my favorite albums, very, very treasured. And honestly, I find so often now when I look at album art people are putting out, it looks so much like this. I'm going to show you the cover of this. Now, this is a box set. This is by one of my favorite artists and my favorite Beatle, George Harrison.
Oh
So the
yeah, good
cover of this
album.
box set,
Fabulous.
he's sitting, he's got his long beard, hat. I don't know if this is coming in focus.
Ugh, what a
Beard,
title.
hat.
All things must pass.
All
Ugh,
things must pass. And
great.
he's in this like field. There's pines around him in the back. And there's these like statues of gnomes just like chilling on the ground all around him. And
Yeah.
if you quickly look, you're like, oh, those must be like sheep or dogs or something. No, those are gnome statues. Those are like elves. And he's kind of dressed like one a little bit, like very subtle, because he's got like a hat and he's got his rubber boots and he's just in there. His hands are kind of like clasped. And it's in that it's like a black and white kind of image. And I have seen so many records lately where the cover, and this is kind of almost like in that country kind of thing. And they're all kind of copying it. But anyway, so this is by far one of my most
I just want to
treasured
say one
in my
thing about
collection.
that. There's like no way that was a photo shoot. You know what I mean? There's something to be said about like taking something that really happened. He was probably like, this is a great field. Like, look at all these gnomes. Like, let's go sit in there. It's something so special about using like a real moment in time as an album cover. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Instead of just like
totally.
renting a studio, getting full glam and being like, oh, that's
Yeah,
my
getting
album
that
cover.
shot, getting that cute like action shot. Yeah, for sure.
Anyways,
For sure.
it's part of the reason I take pictures constantly. You never know where they're gonna end up.
Yeah.
Always could be something special. Anyways, I gotta go.
All right. Well, this was a pleasure as always. Love you
So
so much. Thanks everybody
interesting.
for listening.
Yeah, thanks for spending through time with us today. We hope this gave you a deeper love of the vinyl format. I know that I will always love it, and it's gonna play a huge role in the future. So it's blowing up.
There you go. And we will be back on our next episode. We're actually going to stay kind of in the vinyl world, but we're going into films about record stores,
Ooh, I love
starting with
it.
Empire Records, bitch. So get that up, check it out, tune in. I got my sunglasses on like I'm the buyer
Empire
at the record
Records.
store.
Empire Records, bitch. That's
Empire
what you
Records,
just said.
bitch. So watch it.
Yeah, I
Then we'll
love it.
probably follow that up with high fidelity,
Yeah,
bitch. But
bitch. Anyways, please follow us on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, and most importantly, if you do anything at all, we'll do all of it. But if you do anything at all, can you please leave us a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening to podcasts, and a little comment. It's the thing that helps us the most, and we would absolutely love for you to regularly download our records. You can sign up to have them download as soon as we upload them, like this wonderful album. And we're going to work really hard on teaching you new things
like this
from now
wonderful
on.
episode. You're totally locked into the record lingo because you said,
Yeah, because what did I say?
you said like this album.
Oh, like this album, like this
Like this episode.
Yeah, the truth is Erin and I are hungry for things. We're hungry for learning, and we figure that if we're hungry for learning, then you probably are too. So let's
stay hungry, y'all.
let's stay hungry and get smart. All right. I love you, Erin.
I love you, Emmy. Thanks everybody for tuning in. See you next time. Bye.
Okay, bye.